Well, good evening. It's about 10 after 8 on a Saturday night, January the 7th, I believe. And not too bad here. It's about, zero, freezing, basically. That's generally what our temperature in the winter here is. I mean, there's times it goes way below and then above, but averages around freezing in the wintertime in the Okanagan. So it's usually not that hard a winter. And, we're mitigated by, our weather is mitigated by a huge lake called the Okanagan Lake, 90 miles long, and we're right on it. There's three main cities. Vernon is on the north end, Kelowna is in the middle, and Ticton is in the south. And that's about 90-mile difference. But anyway, it's 2023. That's amazing to me. Huh. I never even dreamt of that when I was a young guy, that I'd be around that kind of figures in years. Things are going along here. We're still paying way too much for everything. I went into Walmart the other day, and I go up there because they got a power cart and I can ride around and get stuff. So I picked up a few things and whatever. One of them was a small half hams deals, and I saw they had it on for like $10 or something. I thought, well, I guess that's not too bad. It used to be like $6.65 here a month or two ago, a couple months ago. And for some reason, I pulled into, I couldn't go to a teller like I like to go. I had to go to where the check out yourself things. And this woman come along and said, do you need a bag? Well, I said, I guess I most likely do. I said, she said, that'll be $1.75. I said, $1.75 for a freaking bag? Well, I said, I don't have a bag. I'm sorry. So I said, here's your cart and your groceries and everything. Have a good day. Goodbye. I went from there to Safeway. Picked out pretty near the same things again. And when I got to this half ham thing again there, the difference was $16. And I looked at that and I thought, what the heck is this? $6 between one store and the other on a little piece of ham. That's not good. That is, somebody's really ripping people off. I think this inflation thing benefits businesses because they raise prices above what it really is, and they just do it to they say they have to protect themselves. Well, man, I don't know how can people who were getting by with the wages they had and whatever else face something like a 30% increase with the same money? How can they do that? Because it's not 8% inflation. It's a heck of a lot more than that. You can't say that it's 8% if you're buying some things that are up 40%. Okay. Well, the business in the States it hasn't settled down, but it's gone to another stage at least. Republicans, after all their carrying on, refusing to vote for the one guy, well, half a dozen or 10 or 8 or something congressmen that are banded together to be in opposition, and they've been going after that now for day after day after day. He finally won yesterday, and but in the meantime, he had to make so many concessions that I don't think he has any power anymore. Yeah, that's not the way to do it. But that's the way things go in the States. It's a pretty rotten deal down there, and it's rotten up here too. And we've got a prime minister who power has gone to his head. Thinks he can do anything he wants, spend anything he wants. He's got a deal going with the NDP party, which is a left-wing socialist party in Canada, to support him because he's a minority government. He doesn't have 50% plus one. But this guy who's an East Indian fellow, and leader of the NDP, is supporting him. And I don't think he's doing it for nothing. He's not the kind of type of person that would do that. And I just wish there was some way somebody could find out and nail him for this underhanded stuff. He's most likely collecting on the side somehow. They've got ways to do it. He's not doing it. He's not doing it for the good of Canada or the good of the people of Canada. That's for damn sure. He's being paid off to do it. And I think eventually, well, it could go another year or two, I suppose. But I would think if he keeps doing this, they're going to be wiped out in the next election. People are going to say, no use voting for you. I don't know. I guess I mentioned I've reapplied to move into the burn and rest home. I guess it'll be February the 1st. But I'm still leery of whether that's going to work out for me or not. So I've decided I'm not going to give notice here until I've been there for a month and decided. And then if I decide that I can make this move, then I'll give notice. So it's going to be kind of expensive paying them 2 places for 2 months. Well, that's the only way I think I can do it. I got to feel it out. I know I'm having trouble with cooking and cleaning and doing all this stuff here, but I hate losing an apartment here because it's a pretty good size one. I think it's over 800 square feet. In 1-bedroom apartment, living room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, storage room, storage area. Well, anyway, I've been here for 14, I guess 15 years. Yeah, I think so. 7, and 22 is what? 7 plus 20 is 13, 14, 15 years. That's gone by so fast that I had to make your head swim. Well, the thing is, I'm still, today was Saturday, Sabbath day. I try to keep that. I'm not very good at it, but I try to keep it. And because it is one of the 10 commandments to do that. And it's, I mean, you're just not supposed to do any work or anything. So, you know, I guess if you get touchy about it, you could say so you got to stay off the cell phone. You can't do this, can't do that. I don't do that. I try to keep it as good as I can, I guess. And I've been doing that for quite a while now, actually. You know, it just makes me wonder. I belonged to the Lutheran Church like for 65 years, or maybe more. I don't know. And I finally give up on them because oh, it's the same old thing. I never really gained, it seemed like, anything out of it. So, losing my train of thought now. The, uh, blah, 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 blah. Gone blank. Oh, well, okay. I guess I'm going to basically move a couple things over there after the 15th of this month. He wants a deposit by the 15th. And then, well, I told him at work, I said, well, I'm going to move into the rest home and I guess I'll retire and expire. I said, that's what they do there. Retire and expire. So that's the thing. Can't argue with it. If I move in there, that's the last move I'll be making anywhere. And, you know, it's all meals and looked after, and they do things in there, and they have people come in and do things, and sort of whatever. They have a woman comes there a couple times a week, I think it is. She cuts hair and does stuff like that. Does stuff for women, cuts men's hair. Well, they do the sheets and all that stuff every 2 weeks, and they clean up in the rooms. Of course, you get all your meals, laundry. You have to do your own laundry unless you want to pay them $10. Yeah, it's going to be a big change in a way because I'm used to living on my own and talk to myself or do whatever. Over there, I'm going to be in a home, and I'm going to have to live with a whole bunch of other old people. And I told the manager over there when he was showing me around, I said, the only thing is that what I don't like about this is I said I got to move in with a bunch of old people. And he looked at me and I laughed and I said, well, I said, truth is I'm most likely older than most of them. But I've been kind of that way for a long time. And I guess that's kind of, you know, fooling yourself to think that you're not as old as the years say. Well, the thing is, there's one major thing that I had to come to grips with when I was, well, I don't know, 75, 80, I don't know, something like that. Because I've gone, you know, I was brought up going to church and all that sort of stuff, baptized and confirmed and married in this local church, and, you know, all my relatives are all buried there. And I've been back a couple of times, and it's out in Alberta. It's the Swedish Lutheran Church in Wilhelmina. It's 6 miles east of Lakes, Alberta, basically north of Canberra. You know, one thing that I noticed when I went out to Lakes the last time. Lakes is a small town about maybe 28 miles southeast of Edmonton on Highway 21. And anyway, you know, I grew up around there. I knew everybody within a 30-mile radius by their first name. Everybody. I knew them all. And the thing is, this time I went out, it was in about July, and I went on this road straight east of Hay Lakes, where we went 6 miles and 3/4 of a mile north, and that's where our farm was. But anyway, all along the 6 miles out of Hay Lakes, driving east, there's farms all along. And as I drove by there, I looked at these farms and I looked at these fields that I went by most likely 1,000 times, maybe, I don't know. And they always had crops on them, big crops, barley, oats, wheat, not too much wheat, barley or oats. And anyway, there'd be about 4 feet high, just thick crop, and I'm driving along there, and I get to this one field that's just a little ways, mile or two from our place there. I was a quarter section guy, and he had, pretty nice land. And here I'm looking at this crop again, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is something. This is 60 years ago since I grew up here. It's more than that. But uh, I've been gone from there for what, 50 years or more. And that field is still producing barley like a big heavy crop. And it's been doing that for 60 years. Now, man, you talk about uh, rich land. And it's all black dirt there, just black dirt. Ah, man, I remember going out to Calgary one time and went north of Calgary to Olds, Alberta, where I visited this buddy of mine and his wife. They're getting up in age quite a bit. Anyway, I stayed overnight with them and had supper and visited and whatever. And they're, getting pretty elderly and whatever. Anyway, he drove me around, going to show me things, new things in Olds, Alberta, which is a population of maybe 1,000. And that was fine. And then I told him, I said, look, I leave pretty early in the morning, so I most likely won't see you. I'll be gone by before 6 at least. And so goodbye, thank you very much, and blah, blah, blah. So I was up at 6 in the morning. It was still a little dark. I swung into McDonald's and got a big coffee and headed down the road, driving west. Going west on this road, I was heading towards Rocky Mountain House. And anyway, I just got out of the McDonald's and I pulled out on the road, and the sun was just coming up over the horizon. It was in my back window. So I just drove along, About 10 minutes later, sun was coming up a little more. It was a bit more light, whatever. And as I'm driving along, the sun started shining from the east. It was a clear day, clear morning. And it had rained just a little bit at night. And here is this sunshine is shining on all these crops and stuff. And they're just glistening, like, shining in the light. And I looked around there, and I looked and looked and looked, and I drove along, and I just said to myself, man, talk about rich land here in Alberta. And I mean, really rich land. Yeah, and man, there's a lot of good farmland in Alberta. And Saskatchewan too, but it's different in Saskatchewan. It's prairie. Alberta is more parkland. And I know on our farm where I grew up, we had black dirt 3 feet deep. You could plow as deep as you want, you just keep getting black dirt. Yeah, rich land, very, very rich. And, never thought anything about it growing up. It was just, that's it. But when I go through the states, some places in Oregon and Washington, especially Oregon, and see all that uh, desert scrapland, nothing but big rocks, boulders on it. It's kind of a high desert, and I mean it goes for hundreds of miles. Mind you, I guess their big good land is in more or less in eastern United States. I mean, they have a lot of farming in Washington and Oregon too, but it's basically like wheat farming or something on in valleys or low spots or whatever. But I mean, the best land in the United States, I think, like Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, and all that stuff. Nebraska, where they got real corn growing areas and pretty rich land. I remember meeting guys from, I was in Mazatlan. I met a couple of people from, I think it was Ohio or something, and he was retired and he sold his big farm. So, this country is like a breadbasket practically of the world in a way, like Ukraine is in Europe. And I've said it before, and I guess I'll say it again. I'm a white guy. I'm Swedish descent. Then I've been to Sweden, and they're all white race there, as white as you can be. And my grandfather came over here in 1904. And I mean, there was quite a bit going on here already. And a year later, Alberta became a province. He came to Alberta. It wasn't a province then. But a year later, it was. And this, just all over the place. Nothing but white guys all over. Never thought of that, though. But not, looking back on it, that's what it was. And where did they come from? England, Ireland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany, and there was quite a few Ukrainians too, but mostly German. Uh, where I lived, there was a Scandinavian area of people, pretty well all over, except the south of us was a Hungarian guy or Ukrainian. I think it was Ukrainian. And then farther east of us was our German colony, and quite a big area of Germans. Yeah. And these people all immigrated here, and most of these immigrated into Alberta like in the early 1900s, late 1800s. That's when they came here. They had been in the States, up to 100 years before that. Well, not 100 years, but pretty close. And I've said before that there was no Indians around where I lived, east of Hay Lakes. South End, no, had to go quite a bit south to Obima or something like that. But it appears to me that all these white race people who I believe are the descendants of the 10 tribes of Israel. It's actually what I believe we are. And God said that we'd be assimilated, we'd forget who we were, and all that. And I guess that's true. But he also said he'll bring them out of the nations, and he'll sift them out, and he won't lose one, which I don't doubt. I believe what God says. I don't believe necessarily what anybody else says. And you have to trust somebody for the truth, and that's who I trust. I trust him and Jesus Christ. So it's true that I can't trust anybody else. My son gets deceived. My daughter is totally deceived right now. And other people are all, uh, brainwashed by the media. What gets me is people repeat things and they think it's their own idea, when it isn't at all. It's what they've been fed by the politically correct news deal, and they still glue to the TV and watch the news and this guy, that guy, and oh, did you hear that? Oh, wow, it's terrible. Jesus said, the last thing he said when he was rising up to leave his disciples and all his people, he said, the last thing I'm going to tell you is, don't be deceived. That's the last thing he said to people on earth. And you could see why he said that. See, because it really makes it hard for people to be lied to and then figure it's the truth and believe it. And that Satan's, God doesn't do that. God is not lying to people. But Satan is. And he's an influencer. He can't really, doesn't have the power to really make you do anything. But he can influence you through feelings, thoughts, ideas, good or bad. There's not any good, nothing good. It's usually greed or anger or fighting or all kinds of things that are bad. Yeah, well, I've rattled on enough. I wished I had something really important to say tonight, but all I can say is Happy New Year. Thank you very much.